There you go. We're rolling.
All
I
right.
like that. I like that it always gives an option to leave the meeting once the recording starts. Hey,
Yeah,
we got to get out of here.
It
exactly.
gives you that option.
Yeah, it says yes or no at the top.
You're being
Okay,
recorded.
so yep. All right. The stars are 1-0, and we've got a realtor on the call with us. Um, Connection still good, Greg?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Riley, Terry, welcome to, I guess, being our guest here. We call this executive lunch, but we've never actually told anybody that.
Yeah.
And we're
It
we're never
Glad
together
glad
either,
glad
so
to be here.
it started because Greg and I used to have like marketing meetings every Friday, and then
Yeah.
we would end up just being at the bar and talking, and then all of a sudden all of our friends would be there, and we'd be hammered after like 3 hours.
yeah.
Yeah.
And no
Yeah.
And then
business
all of
That's
us,
meetings.
definitely good.
and then the sun would be down, and it's like, what are we doing?
Might as well make some money off of this.
Let's go hang out. So, okay,
Exactly.
Riley, take it away, man. Tell us a little bit about you and what you got going on.
I actually just got my first offer accepted this morning. I just rewrote the contracts and sent that out and got signatures coming in right now. We'll be hitting the ground running Monday to get all that closed, hopefully by the end of next week.
That's
Congrats.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So Riley is a new agent. So start even a step back further, Riley. Tell us your how long you've been in the business and maybe some goals and like what you're working on. Then let's talk about your deal.
Uh, Going strong, probably about 3 weeks now. I've had it for a month. Had a couple little things in the beginning of that stopped me from family situations, stuff like that. Right now, really learning, gathering as much as I can. Later on, I'd like to have my own brokerage, everything like that, and be able to expand to do other businesses and build off of that. Really, man, just trying to make it, dude.
Yeah. So brand new agent, just got licensed, been doing tons of training, obviously lots of goals and ambition, just like all of us. So that's awesome, man. Plus, you just got your first deal, only a couple weeks fresh off your license, so you're kicking
Oh
butt.
yeah,
That's
oh
pretty
yeah.
cool. So
It got
what?
pretty stressful there for a minute. I was sitting there looking at credit cards like you were talking about the other day. I was like, man, I'm about to have to get me one of these if this don't start falling in. And then this deal came in. I was like, all right, cool, cool. We'll be a little solid for a little bit longer.
Okay, so real quick, why did you choose to be in real estate? Obviously, we talked a little bit about the entrepreneurial spirit there, but was that kind of the reason, or what do you think?
I mean, yeah, man. I don't really know any other way other than working with my hands and to build all these other businesses. I got to get somewhere to make some money, and I felt like this was a great place to get there to open myself up to doing all the other things that I'd like to do. And it's a great market to get into, especially if you can make it. So meet people
Yeah,
like y'all and
absolutely.
everything else like that, and learn a lot about trusts and LLCs, how to make money, how not to spend too much money, all that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, and I like to do a tax class every so often, especially around tax season, and that's one of the questions we like to ask. Well, what happens if you do make money? What happens if you luck right into it and you make? What do you
Yeah,
do then? So yeah, trusts and all that kind of stuff is
yeah,
it's super complicated, and just being a real estate agent or mortgage like me or insurance like Greg, you're your own thing. Whether you have your own company or you're working
oh
for
yeah.
another broker, it's your own deal, 100%. And
That's what
there's
I like the most, man. It's like I've been trying to talk my brother into it. I was writing a contract the other day. I'm like, think of it right now. This took me 10 minutes, and I made maybe close to $1,000 if you look at it in relation to time of this contract. Just sitting here doing this, dude. Like, yeah.
Yeah, dollar per hour, then you get into the talks of financial freedom down the road. Like, what does it mean to have real estate working for you rather than you working for somebody else? And it's like 4:45 and you're like, hey, can I go home? They're like, fuck no. 15
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
minutes.
exactly. I get tired of being told what to do. I'd rather make my own money.
Yeah, a whole different world.
Oh yeah.
A lot of good things. Greg, you got any questions for him?
Yeah, I mean, I got one. I don't know if Mark maybe relayed this to you, but obviously you're new, fresh license, right? We met for lunch the other day. We talked about social media and marketing and stuff. With you really learning everything, mouth to a fire hose the last couple of weeks. What has been the biggest difference between what you see on Instagram and Facebook with real estate agents versus what you now know? just being the month 2 weeks in? Like, what is it? Is it different? Do you feel like social media kind of like shows you the pretty stuff and leaves out all the bad shit?
Yeah,
Or
it's
is
kind
it pretty
of.
accurate?
Yeah, if you, depending on if you really dig deep into social media, trying to find like really talk, like find realtors to talk to you and not bullshit with you. But if you're just finding all those like random videos that pop up, oh yeah, they're like sitting there trying to sell you the lottery and giving you a $2 ticket kind of thing. Uh, because there's so much more to it, and as as I'm learning right now, you gotta sell yourself, and you gotta sell, you're not really selling the property, so it's more of all these videos you see, it's everybody selling themselves and all the good stuff that goes down, and oh look at me, I got coffee at 9 o'clock and now I'm doing this and doing that and yada yada yada, and it's like, well, really, you work way harder than what you're putting out there to be, you know what I mean? It's a it's a lot
So
to it. My hours are way longer than what they've ever been, even working for myself before.
yep,
Right. And
absolutely.
it's different. It's definitely different. I know Mark, when he's stressed out, his hours may look a little bit different than when he was in a bank. And for me, my hours look way different than when I was in a big corporate office with 30 other insurance agents. You may
Oh
work
yeah.
less, you may feel like you have a little bit more freedom, but if you got to answer that phone call when Mark's, 3 or 4 vodka Red Bulls deep on a Friday, he slaps his cheeks and answers that phone call. So
Oh yeah.
your hours are very sporadic. Sometimes you
Yeah.
work less, sometimes you work more, and it's just the reality of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's fine. Figuring out that sleep schedule is the tricky part. You got to start learning to take them quick naps.
Yeah.
yeah. So you gotta, it's all about balance and being prepared and having a schedule and making things for yourself and and trying to, the whole word grind. It's really just all about, are you organized? Can you do what you set out to do each day? And if you do that, then the hours really don't matter.
Oh yeah.
Then it's on you whether or not you want to take a call later on or not. I mean, I answer texts at midnight sometimes. It just
Yeah.
depends. Other times I
Well,
look at a phone call at noon and I'm like, nope, I'm not taking that call. So it's
well,
I've
just
got my
being
I've got
being
my
new,
list.
yeah,
being
your
new too,
relationships and
I'm. Oh, sorry.
just it's all relational, but it's setting a schedule. So if you can get, to where you have set schedule, sleep, you set that expectations with clients, then you can have a regular life. You don't have to be
Oh yeah.
someone who's just getting run ragged all the time.
I'm talking like like in the beginning right now. Not only am I doing this and working my hours, but on my what are supposed to be my off hours. I'm still putting into this, trying to learn things. Is really what I was getting at that point. Like taking that
Yeah,
extra time when I'm not working to continue to better my work when I am working. Like that kind of thing.
yeah,
Stretching
absolutely.
these muscles in the brain I haven't ever stretched, but you haven't stretched in a long time, just because of the work I've always done. It's just doing stuff. It's not really.
Yeah.
I don't have to think
So
about it
one
because I've
thing
done
you
it for so
said,
long.
yeah, one thing you said, it reminds me, and Greg said, working at the bank and like all of the stuff that we've done to lead us where we are today. We've been at a lot of places with a lot of different kinds of structures where like there's tons of middle managers and middle managers above that middle manager, and then yet another level of middle management. And so I
You
use
think you
that to
meet the
my
boss and you ain't met the boss?
exactly, yeah. So I use that to my as a strategy, right, to my benefit now, saying, look, this is it, right? You're looking at the company right here. I'm a one-man broker shop now recently, and you can use that to your advantages because you've learned the system of the other side. But the other side taught me a ton to be able to put me here. And one of the things that it taught me is like you're talking about on the Instagram videos, they're teaching you a bunch of BS. But there's two words, right? There's being productive, and then there's just being busy. So the people that are constantly out there posting and trying to say that they're influencers, what are they doing? And you look up their
Busy word.
stats, and they said they've got all these awards and stuff, and you're like, cool, but your production says you like are broke. So what are we talking about? So
Oh,
it's interesting, but
paper don't lie.
busy and productive is something to really pay attention to as a young realtor because you don't want to start chasing rabbit holes that have literally nothing on the other side.
Oh yeah, I'm figuring that out in these cold calls, man. Like the leads that you get, you got to be looking at the names, the emails, and I had a call the other day. I called them the name, email, everything matched up, and I figured you got to match that up first before you even try a phone number. I called the phone number and it was like to some dental office or something. I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
you'll learn.
this is a
There's
wild goose chase right here.
when you're prospecting and cold calling, man, it's pretty crazy. So let's talk about your deal then. So what, you've been focusing on a lot of training and everything, but how did this deal come about? Did it come about through some of the things that they've been teaching you in training, or how'd you find the deal?
It was reaching out into my, my circle, my family, everything like that, getting my name out, letting my family know. The client is actually family. It's the mother of my oldest well, I'm the oldest of five, so my oldest youngest sister. So it was a family connection that I got through, but I mean, I still had to make the call to even get out there because she was already going to look with another agent, hadn't signed anything yet, and I made my call, and she was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, like obviously I'm gonna use you," and I was like, "Great, glad I made this call." So really,
Absolutely.
it was reaching out to my sphere, as they call it, my sphere out here and everything like that, and then
But
doing
they
open houses. I've got
probably
a lot of leads from open houses and stuff like that too. That's a good one.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I stress open houses a lot, especially after all the NAR lawsuit. I think open houses are really strong. But that's great, man, because they probably one of the very first things they ever told you in training was you're going to make money with people who already know you, and
Oh
then
yeah,
worry about the people who don't know you next, right?
Hmm.
let them get your name out.
Sweet.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So let's see. I think I've got two more questions for you, Riley. Probably a 12 or 13 people will watch this video, so let's see when we can
Well, hi,
we
all
can
12 to 13. How y'all doing?
Okay, so as you know, we're what some people might call vendors, but we're really what we like to be called is partners. Okay, so what do you look for in partnerships in business? What do you
Trustworthy.
need? Like, what things
I
do you
need to
need
be
and
able
what
to,
do you look for?
I need to be able to trust you. And I also need to be able to go and sit down like you, Greg, and I did and cut the bullshit. You know what I mean? You gotta have that relationship. You gotta mean what you say. I come from growing up, you shake a man's hand, that's your word, and your word is law. So partnering, especially with people who understand your family, everything like that, like you really got to have that relationship and that trust and obviously detailed contracts as well, because you never know what people are going to do.
Yeah, well, contracts and some of that stuff is where we can really help too, especially on the loan
Yeah.
side. Like we're the ones that ask questions about the contracts. We're the ones basically approving the contracts, right? Us in title. And
Oh
so
yeah.
making sure that it's all legit. So yeah, man, that's great. So we're here for you. Okay, I only have one other question, but Greg, you got anything else?
Yeah, man, I'm just stoked that you got your first deal in.
Yeah, me too. I was
It's
stressing.
it's a it's a long road. Obviously, there's different markets to jump into real estate, and there's different avenues of real estate to jump in within those markets. And I mean, Mark was in the real estate business before he was in lending. I worked in marketing and real estate, and we all know people that, went a really long time without getting a check. So getting
Yeah.
that first one is a huge milestone in any part of
Agent,
our
we're all
world.
still in the industry.
Yeah, so that first deal is always huge. It's a good way to get the ball rolling, no matter when it is. But the
Makes you
sooner the
feel
better.
good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
uh,
Getting one right off the bat like you're having here, hopefully you don't have any trouble. Hopefully the title process, you learn a lot about that. You learn, but you eventually you'll learn the most from the trouble files. And
yeah.
that's where you really take a lot of lessons. But to get one under your belt right out of the gates is going to be huge for you and just your career in general, because it's going to make you relax a little bit. And then now when you make those cold calls, you're talking to new people, you're not stressing out about money and like, hey, I need you to answer your phone so I can pay rent.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
that's
so
another
it's
thing. If you want to speak on advice to a new agent is don't stress it. Like don't worry about the contracts. Don't worry about all this other stuff until you have a client to worry about it. Like I didn't worry about learning. I just wrote my first contract, and it's the first time I looked at it was when I finally got the offer, and I was more worried about getting clients before I worried about anything else.
yeah.
I think that's probably
You
the best advice you can give anyone in this industry. People
people
worry too much about the things they don't have going on yet.
people can smell that fear from the other side of the phone.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, last question, because I think this is gonna be my question I ask every guest, because we talk a lot about marketing, and I've got Greg and I are going to talk a little bit more about that today because of bait and switch marketing. I ran into a perfect example of what I'm talking about, two of them actually this week that really fired me up. So we're going to get into that. But with that, as a real estate agent, you're technically the top of the food chain within the sales, right? Most people want to target agents to then get the consumer to them so that they can sell whatever product that they sell. So, what kind of cold calls have you been receiving right now? Have you gotten any crazy ones? Anything that just is like, wild, or have you? Are you still too fresh where they haven't really started calling you? So, for example, you mentioned at lunch, you were getting a lot of recruiting because you had passed
Uh,
your licensing. So, like, that's part of the cold calls, and then it just goes into the depths of hell from there.
So at first, like right off the bat, that first week, my email was blowing up nonstop from brokerages and stuff like that. And then it's died down a lot. Like I haven't really had a whole lot here. I had that one guy that I talked to right before, like you said, we sat down. Other than that, I mean, not really a whole lot. Like I said, at first it was more brokerages trying to get me to go to them. And then you'll have stuff like pop up every once in a while for like a training in my email, but that so far that's about it.
Well, as you get into more trainings, as you close this deal and it hits the MLS that you closed the deal and a title company, you're going to start getting people reaching out to you asking for you to send them your referrals. And
Yeah.
so, really experienced agents, people will really, really target them heavily and sometimes in some creative and sneaky ways. And it's kind of fun to listen to how people get cold called. So, I've been
Yeah.
in the cold call game for a decade or more, and it's a wild west out there.
Oh yeah. I kind of feel bad, you know. I hate cold calls. I'm on all the lists not to get called, and now I'm over here doing it.
It's different though, right? You
But
want to reach out with
I
a
think it's
purpose.
different though when you answer the phone like you do. You know, I'll answer. I'm like, "Hi, this is Riley Terry with Elite Real Estate," instead of "Hi, is this blah 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 blah." You know that I think
Hmm.
that really helps with it too. So it's like, okay, this guy isn't just trying to waste my time.
Yeah, for sure. Greg?
I mean, we all get cold calls. I get cold calls about my own insurance policies from my previous employer, and I try to I mess with the agents a little bit sometimes because I know exactly where they're sitting in the office. I know what breakfast got served if they called on Friday, and I'm like, "What's your goal? How much do you need? Why are you calling me? Because you only call these people when you need money." Like I mess with them. I mess with them a
uh,
little bit, but for the most part, yeah, you're gonna get
you
calls
know,
for
I think
everything.
that's the kind of podcast you need to start. It's just you fucking with people on cold calls.
We'll get there.
We can get some definitely get some content, especially every year around renewals. Because I start getting flooded with them in the mail and on the phone. But it can be fun, it can be annoying. And I
I'm
have a
talking about
different
it like
view.
a joke setting like that. Like you call like, hey man, I like that office you're sitting in, you know, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's really
I know what
good.
office they're sitting at. I run by it every week when I go
Yeah.
jog on the river. So
Well, Riley, good luck to you, man. Congratulations on getting your first deal under contract. Obviously, we're here to help you out, and hopefully, this was a fun thing. We can get you back on after your deal's over, and you can tell us all about it. But we're gonna try to get more content out there. We like talking to other people and obviously new agents and things, and then all the way to experienced agents. Everyone scours the internet looking for information, and we think that real life examples and real life scenarios, stories are kind of where you're going to learn the most. So that's what we appreciate you having you here today. And then when you're done with your deal, we'll have you back on to tell us how it all went and what you learned from it.
All right, that sounds good, man. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Riley.
thanks,
All right,
Riley.
bye bye.
Okay,
First deal in the
got a
books.
deal
It's quick.
in his first month of real estate. That's pretty sick.
Yeah. That's
There's people that will go many moons without having a deal, and to be able to cash a check early on in your career, boy, that takes a lot of pressure off. Because like in
yeah, it
baseball, when
does.
you're in a bad slump, you just get that one hit, and it's like, let's go. But if you never
Yeah.
even get in the slump because your first game you got a hit and everyone thinks you're an all-star, man, you got a lot of leeway. Your leash just got
Exactly.
really long.
Yeah.
So that's really, really cool to hear. It's a
Well,
cash
let's
deal, so I didn't
yeah.
get to do a more, but
Right.
who cares? Because you want your partners to do well.
Yeah. Well, let's be quick on the back end wrap up here. I know we're kind of went a little
Yeah.
long, but let me hear what what got your pants all hot the other day when you were just firing off text messages to me?
Yeah, well, the insurance thing, well, I'll get you to respond to that maybe next time. Just more like, look at me, marketing.
That one was gross because you could clearly tell they had some sort of filter on that guy's face. It was an old man filter, so that was not an old guy talking in that video. His face was like not moving. Um,
Yeah.
and cyber
Well,
anybody knows Cybertrucks. If you get in a wreck, they got to replace the whole thing because it's all one piece of metal. There's no bumper.
yeah. Well, that and just the whole thing of like literally everyone told me no, but then I found this one spot, and
Yeah,
it's
and it
like
happened
here.
to be my brother who works in insurance was hiding the secret from us.
Uh-huh. And now that secret is so important that you need to know about it, and I'm working for them.
Yeah, and I'm
Right?
running Facebook ads.
Yeah, yeah. So that was just disgusting. But so I had this analogy. But okay, so crazy scenario. Client that I've been, UWM has refi incentives right now where they're basically putting the rates a little bit lower than they normally would to try to incentivize a little mini refi boom now rather than later. Obviously business decision, they'll make less, but they get more, and they're pushing that right now. And for a lot of people, it's a really good deal because you can take advantage of it now rather than waiting 6 months down the road. So I've been calling my
Yeah.
past clients a little bit, that I think might fit into this box, saying, hey, what do you think? Is this enough savings? Do you want to look at doing this now? Do you want to wait? Maybe look mid next year? Like, what do you think? But just as my job, got to let you know this is something out there, and I think you might fit. If you like this number, let's see if it works. And then he's like, "No, it doesn't really work." And then but I got a call. They said, "Hey, they put solar panels on their house. They told me they had a bad experience with the solar panel salesman, but they kind of justify it by saying that the salesman's no longer there anymore, so they rectified that bad experience.
So let
But
me
the
pause you.
number,
Let me pause you real quick because solar panels is my bugaboo, right? Just computer screens and waking up in the morning. I don't like them. I don't like solar panel salesmen. So what people don't realize is when that guy knocks on your door, he doesn't work for the solar panel company. He's the sales force that's hired by them. So it's a random dude, doesn't know anything. When they tell you we got rid of that salesman, he was gone anyway because he's seasonal. And those guys, if you start asking detailed questions, they have zero answers.
I,
Anyway,
I've
back
got,
to your rant.
I've done it, and all they want to do is get you a meeting with the next guy. So they're like a glorified
They're an appointment setter.
ISA, right? Inside sales agent, exactly. So that's all they do. They probably get paid and bonused on how many appointments they set, and
And
then
that's
they
not
have their
everybody.
guys.
There's great companies out there, but for the most part, that's my experience.
My issue with solar is not the idea behind it, right? The reason why everyone wants solar, I'm on board with, but the problem is there's too many different pillars of how the industry works, of how all the other industries surrounding and touching it adjacently, how they work. They don't talk, and then like, what are we supposed to do with the batteries? Where do the batteries come from? Uh, what about the roof? Can we insure it? Can we not insure it? Like, okay, the mortgage now, like, is that going to help or hurt you qualifying for the mortgage? To me, there's just too many unanswered questions.
Yeah,
And until some of those questions start getting answered,
we were doing.
I'm not going to be a fan for the moment. Look past that part. But the solar panel company that gave them a loan, right? They're leasing those panels basically for however many years until they pay it off and it's theirs. But they called to refinance their mortgage. And it's a guy from California, doesn't know anything about Texas rules. And he wants to do an FHA streamline refinance, is what they call it. There's a few things about those that are kind of tough because you can't roll in certain costs into a streamline mortgage. However, if your credit score went down, if you've added new debt, you might not qualify for a regular old underwriting style mortgage. Then a streamline's great because you just go from FHA to FHA and you don't need to requalify. The rate or the score matters a little, but because they might tack on some pricing adjustments, but whenever you qualify for a refinance. And I just couldn't believe it that the people who lent in the money for the solar panels, solar panel lender specific, is calling trying to refinance people's mortgage. And they promised the world. They promised like a something percent for no cost. And then I was like, boy, send me. Can you get that in writing? Can you send me that? and they sent it, and it's almost $20,000 in costs.
Really?
My internet's going unstable.
I know. We're just playing through it.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, so again, bait and switch marketing. They called, it sounded super sexy on the phone. I'm going to save a ton of money per month. I'm going to get a rate well over 2% lower, and it's not going to be any money out of my pocket. Well, those costs get rolled into the mortgage, and they were going to roll so many costs into the mortgage that the mortgage was going to be more than the appraised value of the home. Now you're underwater. Now you're talking bad 2008 stuff.
Yeah.
Right here. So there's a lag in it now, but yeah, that was my big beef was, boy, like, talk about bait and switch. Unbelievable. So
Did you get that in writing?
all right, well, I did, and I looked at it and I sent it to him, and I said, this is not no cost.
Do a little CapCut video and post it.
I might. I don't want to throw clients under the bus, but like, I'm happy to throw a lender under the bus.
Yeah, just blur his name out.
So, okay, my connection's really bad, so it's a good time to break anyway. Good
Yep.
talk.
Later.